In Adam's words, even families, especially families, tend to be dysfunctional. So that was concerning to him. But he also found, again, this to be common in the most popular and the most successful workplaces. My name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My main thing is helping you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, or otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. Today we're going to talk about Adam Grant and his theory that the workplace is like family, and that's actually a mixed blessing. It's actually from a study done by the popular Wharton professor and of course TED speaker. You can catch one of my other videos where I talk about his recent TED talk that I saw in person a couple months ago about languishing. Be sure and check that out. Put the link somewhere up here. In the meantime, if you're liking the content as far as being a side hustler, being a solopreneur, if you're on a particular journey to remix your career, as I talk about my new book, Career Remix, be sure to subscribe. It's always free. It's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time, and I can give you some tips and hints. All right, so Adam, who I got to know over at TED over the years I've been going over there, he has some great TED Talk. I got a chance to interview him for, again, my new book called Career Remix. Get the gig you want based on the skills that you've got. In fact, I interviewed him a little while ago and included it in the upcoming book coming out January of 2022. Be sure to go to mycareerremix.com to check out the book. He's known as an organizational psychologist, so he understands how people work within the workplace. He's gotten very famous off of that. He has some great books, including the new book, Think Again. He's done a bunch of studies on this. He's kind of like Brene Brown in that he can talk about it in the pop cultural way, but then he also has the studies and the rigor, as they say, to back it up. He did this massive study as far as different workplaces. He talks about that in his podcast called TED's WorkLife. I think it's in the 3rd or 4th season. Be sure and check it out. When I talked with him, he said one of the most common things that he found in successful workplaces is that they called their community family. They called their employees family, they called the supervisors family, they've called the founders family. He said that this made him very uncomfortable. You can see the look on my face. It makes me uncomfortable too. As a founder, I founded 2 companies. As a creator, as a consultant, they're not really your family, right? We're kind of working together as a united community, but not really your family. And to put in Adam's words, even families, especially families, tend to be dysfunctional. So that was concerning to him. But he also found, again, this to be common in the most popular and the most successful workplaces. Successful as far as with being able to get things done, being on the same page, being supportive. And so there are 2 big things I think we can take away from this. Again, I reflect Adam's uncomfortability with this, but there's some good insight with that. I have 2 little kids, and I've started a home with my partner, my wife, of several years. And so I understand what it's like to lead a family and, of course, to be in a family. And there's a couple of things you can take away from this and some big insight. Number 1, if you believe, or if we are going to go with the theory that the workplace is like family, then you have to understand that your workplace is going to expect you to follow the status quo. Status quo is basically the standard, the culture, how we do things. You're going to be kind of like a fish in water. A fish in water has no idea it's in water. And so once you get into that environment, it's very easy to conform. And I tend to be a nonconformist myself, and I've been in those kinds of environments, and suddenly I'm doing what everybody else is doing. It's a natural part of the process, just like a family. I have 2 sons, they're 5 and 8, and my partner and I expect them to follow the status quo of the family. We want them to be their own people. And at the same time, you can't, walk around the house naked. Can't do that. You can't leave a bunch of dishes over there on the table after you finish eating. You can't do that. Those certain things are part of status quo, right? Good, ill, judgment, or no judgment. You're dealing with the same stuff in the workplace. And there was a really good conversation with Seth Godin over at akimbo.com. And he had a recent podcast where he talked about this, where when you get a traditional job, you're actually letting go of some of your power for some of that protection. So you're missing the downside as far as like when business isn't going that well, when say a pandemic hits or whatever, you're still getting paid the same amount, right? It's called your salary or a fixed hourly amount, your hourly wage. But that also means that you're missing the upside. You might have a busy season with the work that you're doing. You're still getting the same paycheck unless you have some built-in bonus, which many of us do not. More importantly though, which is kind of the point of what Adam was getting at, because you're expected to fit within the status quo, you're also losing the upside of innovation. If there's something different you want to do, you need to get permission. I have a show. It's on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I've been doing it for several months now, have almost 150 episodes, so thanks for your support. I could end this show right now, or I can make it a daily show, or I could turn it into a monthly show. It doesn't matter because I essentially run the network. It's at youtube.com/BrownDamon. I turn on the lights, I can turn it off. You lose that when you're in that environment. Just in the same way that whomever is in control or whoever is leading your family, and it might be you leading the family, but whoever is leading your family, they're the ones that set the pace. My partner and I are the ones that pay the bills. We bought this house, so it's our rules. You're still gonna be dealing with that. So number one, there's insight to be taken from this family environment, because just like your own family, whether you were raised in a family or you're leading a family right now, or you're part of another family, whoever has that leadership role, it's not exactly a democracy, no matter how family oriented it might be. In fact, because they're calling it family, that might make you think about your own family and how those power dynamics play out. Number two, you have to become CEO of your own career. You have to understand your own growth. As I talked about in Career Remix in the discussion interview that I had with Adam Grant, even the most supportive environments, even the ones that have your back, and I've worked as a consultant when I was much younger. I had a couple odd jobs here and there, worked as administrative assistant and so forth. I did a lot of stuff. Even the most supportive environments didn't or couldn't see the vision of where my career was gonna go. Like even the vision as far as me talking to you now, years later, they didn't have that vision because that was my dream. That wasn't their dream. It's not their job to fulfill my dream. And so even the most supportive mentor on the job, in a leadership position, someone who's helping you along the way, their vision isn't gonna be as long as yours. Very similar to a family environment. The insights that my mom and my dad and my stepfather had as they raised me when I was much, much younger, obviously, they couldn't see the vision that I had for my life. Because again, it was my dream. So it was my job to leave the house at 17. It was my job to apply to go to Northwestern to go to grad school. It was my job to start up Cuddler a few years back. It was my job to decide to have this dynamic where I'm the primary caretaker of my wife and I's two sons. That's my job. No one else can say, Damon, you should do this. Damon, you should do that. Whether I was an adult or not, it doesn't matter. That vision is mine. Just like that, it's the same thing in the workplace. That family environment is reflective of the family that you have at home or had at home. They can eventually kick you out of the house, but they only are gonna know that particular timing as far as when you should leave. They're not gonna be ambitious for you. That's the bottom line. That's one of the reasons why I'm a huge proponent of side hustle, because it allows you to spread your wings, it allows you to try different things. You're able to get that insight and get that fresh air, get that fresh water, and realize those things that fit and don't fit in the current environment that's paying your bills. So ultimately, it's up to you, just like a real family. And so, Adam Grant and I, when we were on the phone, we agree that calling your work the family is awkward and weird, might be a little bit creepy. At the same time, as I talked about my new book, Career Remix, you can actually get insight from calling it family because those same guidelines apply. So when someone says this work is like family, think about your own family and then think about the ways that they elevate you and the ways that you have to go beyond whatever their particular limited view happens to be. If you want more insight, be sure to subscribe. It is free. And in particular, you might enjoy the playlist that I have that's about emotional intelligence and Brene Brown's popular playlist. It might be my most popular playlist. It's about 12 different videos. This actually gets a little bit into emotional intelligence, what we're talking about right now, because you need to have a level of emotional intelligence and self-awareness to understand the limitations of the culture you're currently in. And if you're liking it, be sure to subscribe. It's free. And again, I'll be coming to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you happen to not catch it during those times, be sure and subscribe and you'll get a little notification. It'll be backed up in your queue and you can go back and catch the 150 or so episodes and enjoy it at your leisure. Anyway, until next time, remember you can bring your worth and that you can always build from now. Take care.